are here to talk about the eclipse specifically. We're talking to the Solar Eclipse Safari team. We have four of them online with us today. We've got Dr. Karen Cooper, who is the cartoon, by the way. We have Dr. Adam Hartstone Rose, who is the other principal investigator on the project. There is a third principal investigator too. You can learn more about the team on their website. And we also have Naturi and Ashley, who are research assistants who are going to talk through the project for you. So I'll go ahead and before I actually hand it over, I want a little bit more knowledge, and we'd love to know a little bit more about how you plan to enjoy the eclipse. So if you planned to travel in the chat, can you tell us where you plan to travel? Where did you plan to travel? A lot of you already wrote it, so if you already wrote it, write it again. Write it again. Why not? And while you write it again, I will open up another poll for you, which is on the next one. So where will you be experiencing the eclipse? We'll want to see if any of you are in Missouri, shout out, tell me, because I'll be there too. And then while you're answering that, also, we're talking about animals. So I'll ask this question again at the end, actually. So if you want to tell us what kind of animal you want to observe, we will be asking shortly. So lastly, this is an actual poll, but we want to know, are you experiencing the eclipse by yourself? Are you going with a group of people, a hobbyist group? Are you going with a citizen science team of some sort? Are you going with your family, etc.? We'd love to know. And thank you, Roland. Drop that poll for us. I'll give you like 5 seconds to get to 80% participated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're at 70%. 3, 2, 1. Like 2 more people. Maybe. 1 more person? All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we have mostly families. Awesome. Yay. Okay, so this is a great one for the whole family too. So I'm excited for you all. If you're going in any situation here, it is great to look at this project as something that you can do by yourself or with a whole family involved or a group. So we're excited to hear a little bit more about this project. And now, without further ado, I will actually turn it over to all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my screen share so we can talk to Dr. Adam Hartstone Rose, and I will spotlight him so we can all see him too.
I'm so big now on the screen. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Professional.
Well, thanks for inviting us. We're getting super excited about the eclipse. I can't believe that it's less than a week away right now. We've been preparing for this for weeks now. And in some ways, we've been preparing for a few years because we did a really big study during the last Great American Eclipse that traversed our country. And actually, Ashley was involved in that one back in the day as well. And so we observed animal behavior at the Riverbanks Zoo and saw amazing things. The animals had fantastic reactions, much stronger reactions than we expected. And we're really excited to be taking a small group of researchers to Texas, which maybe the weather is not looking great for Monday, but we'll find out. But that's all the more reason that what's more important to us is this enormous participatory science project that SciStarter has been helping us get off the ground. So in this project, we are hoping to have data collected from all across, not just the path of totality, but from wherever anybody is in North America. We have a lot of interest already from people in Canada. I'm hoping we get some people in Mexico observing as well.
So Adam, can you tell us a little bit more about what you, why do we care about animal behavior? Like what's so special about an eclipse in animals?
I mean, it's a funny answer, but actually, like, there is no real practical importance for this. The eclipses happen anywhere on Earth, any specific location, about once every 375 years. So there's no animal that's going to experience an eclipse again and is going to be like, oh, I remember how that was, and like, we need to do things differently next time. And in fact, where we're going to be in Texas, it's been, I think, over 700 years since the last eclipse passed over. But what's amazing about it is that we have sort of fundamental questions about what animals think about. Anybody who has a pet dog or a pet cat has thought, at least I would say on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, like what is going through your head? And so a lot of people are interested in, what do animals do in these super rare experiences. And one of the things that I'm really excited about with eclipses is that it's just an amazing collective experience that we can all experience together, no matter where we are, in our individuality. At this one moment on this one day, we are all experiencing this amazing phenomenon. And what's exciting about our project is that we can add like a whole other layer to that and not just experience it with each other across humanity, but we can experience it with our furry friends as well.
Awesome. So I want to know a little bit about what we do know already, since there was an eclipse in 2017 where this was observed. But I realize in personal conversations, I've often referred to previous reactions that you've described in the zoo as apocalyptic behavior. And I'm curious to hear your response. And that facial expression was great. Thank you for that immediate response. But is that, what do we think is going on, and what do we know so far about these animals, if you can elaborate a little bit?
So we don't want any animal to feel like the apocalypse is coming. And unfortunately, some of the animals did seem to get really, really anxious during the eclipse. The best examples of that, my favorite example is actually what happened with the giraffe at the zoo. What's cool about that is there was a scientist who previously, like years before 2017, published an observation that giraffes in Africa in the Masai Mara, like wild giraffes, started galloping during totality. And I thought that was going to be nonsense. Like I thought that giraffes are very calm animals. Ashley and I have hung out with giraffes in Africa, and they're very serene. And so I thought the only time I've seen giraffes running is when they're being like chased by a lion or startled by a vehicle. And so I really thought that this was not going to be the case. And it actually, like, we had our students at the giraffe exhibit in 2017, and they witnessed giraffes galloping at totality. And it was scary. I mean, the giraffes were running around. We were worried that it would hurt itself potentially. And maybe that was an apocalyptic reaction. Thankfully, although there were a bunch of species that had anxiety reactions, thankfully those reactions went away very quickly. And a lot of people have been asking me, like, should I be concerned about my like pets during the eclipse? Do I need to have glasses for my dog? Like, is somebody going to get hurt, or are animals going to get hurt? And luckily, I think that there is zero record ever published of an animal getting hurt during an eclipse. So even though they might get anxious for these like little minutes and feel like it's an apocalypse, I think we don't have to be worried about that. With that said, if you want to put glasses on your dog as a fashion statement, I'm all for that, but it's not necessary as a safety precaution.
See how quickly it takes them to rip them off their faces. Um, Excellent. Awesome. Okay, that is good to know that I'm not completely wildly off base saying apocalyptic type behavior. I'll personally be watching, or I'll be excited to hear about alpacas from a friend of mine in Missouri who has an alpaca farm. So we'll see what they do. So you are here as a part of a citizen science project. You've talked about getting everyone involved in the day and how beautiful that is. In terms of documenting this information, why do you need our help to be a part of it? Why do you need people all over, especially not even just on the line? Like, what does that mean across multiple different areas across the US?
Yeah, it's really important to get as many people involved in this as possible for a bunch of reasons. The main reason is that even with our study, which is like one of the more comprehensive accounts of animal behavior during an eclipse in the last 100 years, um, essentially all published records of animals during eclipses can be regarded as anecdotal. There's just so little information known, and we know about a few accounts of a few dozen species, but those have been just a few individuals. We watched the gorillas at the zoo, but that's one group of gorillas. We need people to watch a bunch of animals. Hopefully, we get hundreds of people making observations, and only then can we have an idea of sort of the full dimensions of the types of animals that react and how they react. But we're actually interested in even more than that. We're interested in not just what animals react and how they react, but what extent of totality is necessary to incite a reaction. One of the ways we can get this is by paying really close attention to when animals change their behaviors on the path of totality. So for instance, do they change their behavior 10 minutes before totality or 20 minutes before totality? And we can figure out what percent of totality that is. But also, we're really interested in people documenting animal behavior shifts outside of the path of totality. So if you are in 90% totality or 80% totality, there might be some species that are so perceptive that they will change their behavior at that extent, whereas other species might not change their behavior until 97% totality.
Right. Yeah. I wonder what that means for any animals who have different senses too. Like if it's an animal without functioning eyes. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
what the name of this animal is, and I can't remember what it's called, but there are some.
No, that's a really good point. So a lot of people consider, like when we think about eclipses, we think about what's happening with the light. You know, the sun being blotted out is a mind-blowing thing for especially for human beings. But in addition to what's happening with the light, the temperature drops really dramatically during totality, and that means that pressure changes as well. And so even though those aren't things that humans are super tuned into, other species might be really perceptive of that. So even if they can't see the light changing, like if you're in a forest, for instance, they might not be aware of exactly what's happening with the sun and the moon at that moment, but it's possible that different species will perceive those changes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited. It'll be interesting. I can't wait to see the dogs at the various get-togethers that people are doing across the line of totality too, because they,
Yeah, I think probably we're going to have like a whole paper just on dog behavior during the eclipse. Because already, like we've heard from so many people who ask us about what do dogs do. And the answer is that literally, I don't think anybody's published on that yet.
wow. If any of you are playing Watch Your Dog, there is a reaction button and you can give us like a thumbs up if that refers to you. Feel free to do so. I can do it for an example. That was me. Oh yeah, two
Yay.
people. There we go. Excellent. Yeah, if you are watching your animals at home, excellent. So I know there were a lot of people in our most recent events about the eclipse asking, and for this one I saw it a couple times, asking about just eclipse experiences in general. So I know your project has a lot of resources on eclipses and how to actually participate and view. So we can turn it over to looking through and demoing or looking at the website to see what resources are available to people. Unless there's any pertinent other questions your team thinks are a good thing to mention here. Karen, Ashley, Naturi, if anything has come up, please interrupt me. Otherwise, I'll share my screen so we can go through it.
Yeah. Ashley put together a lot of these resources, so maybe she'd be a good one to describe what's out there.
Excellent.
Sure.
All right, you should be able to see my screen. Just let me know where to go and I'll go wherever you need.
So I guess we have a few different kinds of resources. So on our homepage, we have information, more general information. And then the why page next to that has even more detail about all the things that we were just talking about. So kind of what we know and what we expect from animal behavior during the solar eclipse, and some linked resources, news articles and publications from the 2017 eclipse, and also the eclipse coming up. So that's a good place to look at for more animal behavior information. And then the eclipse tab has more information about the eclipse in general. So I think it has a description of what a solar eclipse is and some safety guidelines. But I think maybe the best tool on here is that time and date website linked, that map.
Yeah, this map is super useful if people are trying to figure out exactly when the eclipse will be, where they are. So there are two ways to access it. You can like literally like zoom in like you were just doing, or you can type it in exactly like that, and it'll take you to right there.
Apparently Jackson, Missouri does not exist. I thought it did. That's where I'm going. So, oh,
Let's hope it exists if you
yeah,
show
that
up
would be
there.
weird. There's St. Louis.
Um,
I know I'll be somewhere in here. Sure, let's click
Yeah.
there.
And so that's great. So you can see like it says the duration of totality. So you're going to be getting 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And then it says when the full begins at 1:58:09 and then when it ends. But also remember that essentially the whole country is going to be in partial eclipse. In fact, I think 49 of our states, I guess all but Hawaii. And so wherever anybody is, it's going to be interesting.
Why is that 22% still? That's shocking.
That is shocking. So maybe it's Alaska that's at 0.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we go.
We're a little too
Crazy.
far. Nope. Does not compute, unfortunately, for them. Yeah. So for anyone who's in Mexico or Canada, it helps. It'll be here for you too.
Yeah, this is a really cool one. It's unifying North America in one fell swoop.
Absolutely. Cool. There are several websites for these. I always actually come back to time and date. So if anyone has other websites, they're all pretty useful for different reasons too. So if you're looking for particular information, like there's one that's specific about, you could even see the type of Bailey's beads that'll be visible from where you are, in theory, predicting what it might look like. So there are a ton like that, but that one is definitely a very solid one.
Yeah. So once you figure out, where you're going to be and the time of the eclipse, then if you go up towards the top of our page, we have, I would argue, the most important tab is that participate page. And there are kind of 3-ish ways to participate. So for one thing, you can sign up to be a Solar Eclipse Safari ambassador. So that's exciting. And then, and that means that you can essentially organize your group. So we saw that some of you are teachers or librarians, and so that's a great opportunity. I think maybe a lot of you on here are already signed up as ambassadors. But then there are also 2 ways that you can sign up to collect data by yourself. And so if you go down, there is one option where you can use your own device. If you've pulled up our website on your phone and you're going to be out in some place that has internet on your phone, and you want to use your phone, then you can click on the link to that says digital data collection tool, or you can just use your phone and scan this QR code, and that will take you directly there. If you don't want to be on your phone during the eclipse, or you're going to be sort of outside of internet range, then we have another option. So that last part down at the bottom there is print out a data collection form. We have a form there that you can download. It's a PDF, and you fill out part of it before you go out there. And then there's all sorts of instructions on exactly what you do. So you can read these instructions. If you skim down, it's kind of the important stuff starts on page 2, basically how you go and collect the data. And the most complicated part is the timing, because we want people to collect data for, before the eclipse for hopefully about an hour. And we're asking you to take a recording every 5 minutes for the first 50 minutes. Then we switch to every 2 minutes. And then during that bracket of most exciting time around totality, we want observations every minute. And then if you go to the 3rd page, if you skim down a little bit further, then you can see that it kind of goes to the same pattern. So back from 1 minute to every 2 minutes to every 5 minutes. And we're just asking you to record the behavior until you think that the animal's returned to normal. And it looks complicated, and that's because we're really asking you to give us the most valuable kind of scientific data that we're really interested in. But thankfully, Ashley made some amazing videos to help understand. So if you go back to our website, then you can see on the top there, on the top tab, there's training. And here you can see videos that explain pretty much everything. So how do you use that map that we just went through to figure out the timing, and then enter that onto your forms? And then how can you use that printed data sheet? So how do you fill that out? It looks intimidating, but it really only takes a couple seconds every time you're making an observation. So it's really not that onerous. And then we even have this really great video that Ashley and Rachel made on animal behavior. So especially Ashley put this together that explains some of the behaviors that we're interested in. Obviously, some of it is pretty straightforward. I think you can determine when an animal is sitting or lying down, or you probably have a pretty good idea of when an animal is moving fast or an animal is moving slow. But we're also interested in things like, is your animal having behavior with another animal that's a positive interaction? Or is it having an aggressive interaction with another animal? These are the kinds of things that are kind of subtle, but important, because if your animal's becoming anxious, maybe it's going to go to another animal for comfort, or maybe that anxiety is going to cause it to sort of hit its little brother or something like that. And so some of these things are so subtle that we put this video together where Ashley explains how do you watch those kinds of things. And then the last video there explains how to use the digital form of our data collection. So if you want to take it on your phone or tablet, but it's all exactly the same kind of data that we're going to be collecting.
Excellent. Yeah, I have to say, I find the animal behavior one particularly helpful, just simply because that's sometimes we know how to read a spreadsheet of what information you need, but it's good to know the exact types of what might be interesting in the moment. So that'll be a really good, useful tool for anyone who's watching and is planning. Definitely watch these. They're all pretty short too. I won't click on them because it'll end up messing things up on my shared screen. But yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of so if you're not in maximum, let me review. If you're not in the maximum spot, that would just be like Eclipse maximum local time of it. The maximum still is from wherever you are, right? It doesn't mean that you're
Yeah.
in Eclipse
So
maximum.
if the maximum that you get is 85% totality, there's still a time that will show up on that website where that 85% is achieved. And so that's the time that we want you to enter as maximum.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And there is a place to write where you were on the digital or on the
Yeah, so if you look at the top, no, on the top of each of those sheets, local time of Eclipse maximum and then city, state, and zip code. You can write it right there. And then also when you upload this, there are a couple places where you can type a little bit of information additionally as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's oh, I love this part. The fact that if you're worried about Wi-Fi, by the way, everyone, doing the or printing the copy of this and then just using the QR code to submit it later is going to be super duper easy. So I'll definitely be utilizing that for sure, which will be helpful. Cool. I'm gonna stop my screen share for a moment. And oh, I have you spotlit. Sorry about that. Back to gallery. Awesome. Okay, I think I have skipped questions in the chat that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find. If you did have questions, you can drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. It might be easier for us to find it in the Q&A at this point. But the last link that I sent in the chat is the training site that we were just showing you. So if you need access to any of those videos, that is there for you to review. So should make it easier. Now that you've had a chance to learn a little bit more about all those different ways that you can learn about how you're going to do this project. I'm going to ask that question one more time, and I think a lot of you already answered asking or saying what type of animals you would be watching, but I'm curious again, what type of animals, now that you know all this information, what type of animal would you end up watching? Do you think you're going to watch? Go ahead and write that in the chat. Birds, love it. Frogs, nice emoji usage. For anyone who might be considering multiple animals, can they observe more than one animal, team?
They can observe more than one animal. It'd be nice to have like separate forms for them, because we're trying to understand as this animal changes its behavior versus this animal. Birds are exciting. So one of the things that's really funny about birds, most accounts of birds during eclipses suggest that they become quieter, but some accounts have suggested that they become louder. And my favorite account, somebody recorded that they fall out of the sky dead. So we don't really know what birds do during eclipses. I think probably they don't fall out of the sky dead, but you can let us know what you see.
I can imagine like dive bombing out of fear potentially, like where did the sun go type of thing, but falling dead
Well,
sounds a little dramatic.
yeah, for sure. I think honestly, like what's really happening is that a lot of animals, probably the majority of animals, do what they would do in the evening time, right? And so some birds get quiet and go to roost, while other birds like have a lot of their activity right at dusk. And so those are the ones that become active. Nocturnal birds like owls, and we watched this funny little animal called a tawny frogmouth during the last eclipse. And they're this little African bird, I think they're African, and they basically try to camouflage as a tree stump during the day. But at night, they become active and go looking for grubs. And that's exactly what they did during totality.
Nice. And I assume the answer is yes to this, but someone asked, are bird responses based on the type of bird? So you'd want the species name when that comes up, I
Yeah,
assume.
of course. Maybe it's hard if you can't see the bird, but you can hear activities and stuff, then you can try to do your best, right? And we have a lot of opportunity to write notes. So just write as much as you can. We ask for like the most specific detail that you can on the animal you're observing, but we're just excited to have as many people as possible contribute data to this. Like maybe it should be the biggest study ever of animal behavior during an eclipse. And so whatever anybody contributes is valuable to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a couple questions about exact species. So it's doing your best sounds like the best option. So if you can't figure out who the actual species is, then that's okay. Don't panic.
Yeah, you can say night birds or daytime birds. It would be easier if you were able to identify it as like some kind of owl for a night
Mhm.
bird or some kind of songbird, a small bird or a bigger, But if you can identify it to species, that's even better. Because every bird species is different, right? So if you think about it and we're just like trying to write an observation for mammals, then that's not, you know, that's the difference between a hippo and a dolphin. So the more specific you can get, the better.
Definitely. And Zoe actually added into the chat Merlin Bird ID app. Absolutely. Yeah, there are a couple apps that are really solid for identifying birds. So you can use Merlin Bird, which is connected somewhat to eBird. eBird won't help you too much with making a species identification too much, but if you do want to record what birds you see during the eclipse too, you can also report that to eBird. But Merlin Bird will help you definitely.
There's also we have two options that might be useful too. So one is where we have an option where you can upload a photograph of your animal. So if you can take a picture of your bird, then maybe you can figure it out later, like at home, or you can send it to us. And if you give us your email address, so for all of the adults that are filling out the form, we hope that you'll give your email address so we can keep in touch with you. We can send you like results and all of that kind of thing. But we're happy to have like a back and forth with you. You're welcome to email us, and maybe we can help narrow down that identification.
Yeah. Cool. That is very helpful. I can see that being have fun with all the messages back and forth. Okay, so when we move past the eclipse, so once the eclipse is over, can you give us a little bit insight into what will happen after? So what are the plans for after all the data is in? Do you have a timeline of any sort? What type of questions you'll be answering if you can?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy during the eclipse, but like in the days after the eclipse, it's going to be crazy still because hopefully we get mountains and mountains of data. It's going to take a long time for us to get all of these different types of data together in an analyzable form. But I'm hoping within the first few days, we'll be able to tell our lovely friends at SciStarter how many participants we got and how much data we got from everybody. And we'll hopefully have an idea of where people were participating from, and maybe even an idea of how many different types of animals people observed. Once we really get underway with the analysis, I'm hoping that we're able to kind of split up a bunch of really neat papers. So I want to know about like what farm animals are doing, and maybe we get enough data that we can put together a specific paper on that. I really think we're going to have enough data to write about like what dogs do during an eclipse. I think that's going to be something everybody's going to be fascinated with. I'm excited about putting like together papers that are specifically for children, right? For kids or teenagers. And maybe we'll have some of the teenagers that are helping us collect the data, write those papers. We might have data. So a lot of our participants are going to be kids themselves. And so maybe we'll have a paper just on the kid observations. And in 2017, we had some kids that were observing at the zoo with us, and they wrote some of the most accurate like descriptions of animal behavior on that day. And so I'm super excited to hear about that this time around as well.
Rock on, kids. Good job. Yes, that'll be great. I'm excited to hear more about that. And the SciStarter in general is very excited because we will be throwing out all the information that you give us in the near future. When we start figuring these things out, we'll be able to push it out to all of you in nice ways on socials and such. So it'll be a fun time. Nice season of Eclipse results from all the Eclipse projects too. Excellent. All right, I'm checking to see if there's, okay, yes, there were a couple questions about the data sheets. I just want to clarify. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again with the page so that you all can see where to find each thing. There we go. Okay, so if you go to participate, if you missed it before, under participate, you can see How to use your own device. You can hit log data or you can scan the QR code. That's the digital form. And then if you want to print out your own data collection form, you can print this form. Before the day of the eclipse, please download this form so you can record your animal observations and follow instructions on it. And that'll send you, not there, it'll send you here. Ta-da! Which is
So
super useful.
we've set it up so that there's some bits that it's more useful to fill out like in advance. So you can like type your email address, you can type the local time of the eclipse. Exactly. And then maybe the most important thing to type is the time of maximum. So where we're going to be, it's going to be at 1:42. Oh yeah, Emma, you figure it out. So where are you? Where are you going to be?
Let's see if Jackson shows up this time. I could try a different one. Let's do Perryville. It's small towns. So small. Missouri. Oh my gosh, I can't spell. That's the problem. Too many people online watching me. North Perryville. Let's do city.
Okay.
Okay.
So there we can see that your time of maximum is going to be at 2:01 p.m. So you would add that to your sheet. So go, yeah, 2:01. And then when you go down, and then you would fill out like the city, maybe the animal, if you know in advance you're going to be chilling with alpacas, awesome. And then, yeah, so you'd write like where you're doing that, Perryville, yeah.
Missouri.
Yep. And then this is like maybe the hardest thing of the whole thing, and it's not that hard. So if you go down a little bit to the middle of the page, yeah, down towards, so there, do you see how it added 2:01 p.m. to yeah, right there. That's totality. And so we're hoping that you start your observations an hour before. So if you go up to the top where it says -60, then you would add right there. So you'd just add 1:01 p.m. And then 1:06 p.m. would be the next one, and 1:11 p.m.
This is the lazy version. Sorry, everyone. Use your.
We'll take it. We'll accept it. It's high quality data for us. That's great. And so you just keep doing that until you get to like the -10, and then you figure that out. That's going to be 1:51, and then -8. So basically, I mean, it's not really hard math. Everybody can add 5 and 2 and 1 and stuff like that. And then you go the other way. So after the eclipse, you're going to be going to 2:02 p.m. and 2:03 p.m. And yeah, exactly. And so you just count up. And when you're actually observing the animals, you don't have to watch like all the way for another hour, because probably if you saw your animal doing something different during the peak of the eclipse, it will probably return to normal pretty quick. That's what we saw in 2017. So once that happens, then that's cool. You can write that in the notes, animal return to normal, and then you're done. And once you fill out all of those times, then that's the time that you can go ahead and print the eclipse. So fill out all those times, like all the way down to 2:01, and then after 2:01, and then, yeah, print that out. And let's say, for instance, Emma, maybe like you couldn't find your alpaca that day and you switched to like a squirrel or something. That's totally cool. You can just like cross that out, do your squirrel observations. And then when you get back to your computer, then you can change that and update everything. Also, you don't need to be super stressed if you can't start exactly an hour before. So let's say that Emma is really like lost and or she really needs a Slurpee before the eclipse. So maybe she doesn't get there until 1:15. And so like Emma, your first observation would be at that 1:16 mark. So like yeah, exactly. And so you would just be collecting your notes from then, and you could leave the rest blank, and that's totally cool.
Excellent. I see you have fill in other behaviors here.
Yeah, so that also looks like kind of confusing, but like if you're out there watching your alpacas, then maybe, so what do alpacas do? Spit. Alpacas are spitters. So imagine, yeah, exactly, that you found it spitting. And so you can add that. It looks crazy. Like, don't worry that it like is overlappy. Naturi will figure it out afterwards. We'll have Naturi sort all of that stuff. And maybe like, so that's spitting. Maybe what else is it doing? Brushing its sumptuous fur. I don't know, but you can fill in like whatever those behaviors are, and then you can click on those like as you're making your observations.
Yes.
One thing that's important to note also is this form looks like kind of crazy and confusing with all of these blue boxes, but once you print it, those don't show up. It looks like a regular piece of paper. And so when you fill in those blanks, like it's not going to look like stressful and overlappy like that.
Mm. For cloud cover, do you already have, or is there a specific reason that was added in? Is it about
Yeah,
like,
because we're not sure how clouds affect all of this. Obviously, even if it's like completely overcast, like that cloud cover level number 5, it will still be dark during totality because you'll still be under the shadow, but you won't be able to see the sun itself, the sun and the moon, you know? And so we don't know how this cloud cover will affect the animals. Maybe they have a reaction regardless of cloud cover, but maybe they only have a reaction when the eclipse itself is very visible in the sky. And so by filling this in that last column, that will help give us that information.
let's hope for a lot of ones everywhere.
Yes, that's what we want.
That would be great. Or twos. Twos are okay.
I'll
Hopefully,
take a 2. I'll even take a 3. I'll take a 3
you'll take a
too.
3. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's still very visible.
Well, there's also like a phenomenon that I'm personally excited to see that in some kinds of clouds, I think it's a very low hanging. I don't remember. Some kinds of clouds actually dissipate during eclipses and then reform after the eclipse because of the temperature and pressure change. So maybe even if you're like in a 3 or even maybe a 4 and you're stressed out, like there might be this magical moment where everything becomes wonderful and you're even more at one with the universe.
That would be excellent. For anyone who's heard about the Globe Observer Eclipse program, they're looking at cloud cover, and that's something they're watching for. So even like this information, and most of these projects are sharing data with each other. I know you all are connected with Soundscapes at the very least. And so all this information combined, we get a pretty good picture about what happens, and especially knowing that the clouds might dissipate in certain areas. The lower ones I think are cumulus, but I'm not positive.
I think those are the ones that dissipate. Like, I think that if there's like a couple of these little fluffy guys, then those are the kind that often like go away during totality.
Thank you, Eric, for confirming. Cumulus clouds might dissipate. Yeah, convective clouds. Cool. Stratus are most likely to stick around. Those are the higher up ones, the wispier
Yeah.
ones, I believe. Yeah. A lot of globe observation submissions on my end. But this is really cool to see, so we can see exactly how it might impact animals to see that change. So we get globe observer people looking at it versus what's happening on the ground with the animals. And then it'll be pretty interesting. I did have, this is a question from a while ago, but I forgot to ask. For animals, if they are inside the house, like a dog, is that a no-go for observation?
Probably that's not great for us. I mean, it's possible that dogs are going to react to like the pressure change, but we're really most interested in animals that are out in an environment, even if it's a man-made environment. If your dog is there, take them into the backyard, please, or take them for a walk. I mean, it'd be cool, like in your neighborhood or in a dog park. Really, there is no reason to be worried about your pets. Literally, no dog will be hurt during an eclipse.
No dog. They don't know they won't stare directly at the sun, I don't think.
No animals are smart enough to not look at the sun. There are examples of people that have made this error, but no examples of a dog.
Oh yeah, including me during the annular. I made the mistake, so it's a silly mistake, but have you ever done the thing where you put the glasses on, like you're fully aware, but for some reason your neck moves slower than you taking the glasses off? I don't know what happened, but that was what my brain went and did to myself. So I definitely looked at
I
the sun
mean,
on accident.
on our sheet, the first like most important thing, like thing number 1, be safe. Wear glasses. Like we want as much data, as many people to participate as possible. We will be devastated if somebody hurts themselves in this endeavor.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, that's not the goal. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe. All right, I think we might have covered all the questions. I feel like I think I covered them anyway. We'll see. If there are any other questions, you can always reach out to us. Do you have an email that you refer to as the one to connect with if they do have questions?
Yeah, so our project has an email where we all sort of monitor it. Naturi, what was that email address?
The email is solarclipsesafari@ncsu.edu, which I dropped in the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that just went to hosts and panelists. Sorry, here,
Oh,
let's,
yeah.
can you hit the, or I'll just resend it. Ta-da!
Thank you about that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so if any questions do come up, oh, there is another question. Someone asked me the other day if anyone has noticed if moon glories or morning glories might respond to the eclipse. What do you think? Wait,
I
are
don't
morning
know.
glories birds? What are those?
Those are flowers, right?
Flowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think somebody has watched sunflowers during eclipses. I don't know that literature. I really don't. My botany is not up to par.
I thought it was a bird, so it's okay. There are people who have looked at that. I've definitely seen in our last call or our last SciStarter Live last week, we did talk about not just morning glories. There was a different one that closes at night. Yeah, it wasn't morning glories, though. I think there was a different word, unless I literally knew what that was and then just thought it was a bird suddenly, which is also possible. Maybe there's multiple names, but there have been changes. So if you are near any of these plants that do react to light, take a peek. Let us know. Primroses, that might have been one I saw. Primroses? I'm not sure. Yeah. But it does look like I think we covered all the questions and right on time for the 10-minute mark too. So that's pretty exciting. Team, Naturi, Ashley, any other commentary, Adam, that you'd like to add in? What's the one thing that you want everyone to know, or your own private review of how awesome this project is?
So I have to take off, but the one thing I
Okay.
want to leave everybody with is this is super exciting. Eclipses are amazing. I didn't think they were going to be cool before I was in my first one in 2017, and now I'm like super hooked. And I'm just super appreciative of everybody helping answer some of these questions that maybe we'll be able to answer if we get, you know, all of this amazing data through SciStarter.
Whoop. Thank you. Yeah.
I gotta go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Awesome. All right. And then the rest of the team, are there any other commentary you would like to add in here before I close this out?
I don't think I have anything else. I think it's going to be really exciting. Like Adam just said, I got to see the eclipse in 2017 and was able to observe animal behavior doing that. And the eclipse is such an incredible experience. And then getting to see animals respond was made it even more interesting. And someone commented a minute ago about crowd noise. And I think that is something that definitely can, this is not a summative thought, but a specific thing, a thing that can impact animal behavior. So if you're observing animals and maybe there are people cheering or lighting fireworks, that's an important thing to make note of because those are things that humans do when the eclipse happens, and also things that are generally kind of scary for animals to experience as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I know I had that question hiding in my head somewhere at some point because a lot of people are gathering in bigger numbers. And so if we see that also probably is a good sign for if it's continued noise, the difference between like that hour in advance too. Like if it's just a crowd, not necessarily like fireworks during the eclipse, but a crowd of people making a lot of noise, but it doesn't change through, that could be interesting to see the difference and make sure that you see that too. Yeah.
A good thing to keep note of who's around you and how loud it is, things like that.
Totally. Naturi, anything else?
No, I don't have any additional comments except this is my first, well, I don't think it's my first eclipse, but it's my first eclipse within like the path of totality. So I'm equally as excited to be there and experience it. So can't wait to share this with you all.
Yeah. Is there anyone else's first eclipse? Someone gave a thumbs up. So go ahead and give a thumbs up if it's your first eclipse. I'd love to know. And then Karen, any last thoughts before I close this out? Oh, a couple of us.
No, just to thank everyone. And there is going to be a lot of eclipse traveling, so be safe.
Good thing to add. Yeah, absolutely. Be safe. Number one thing, always. Always. All right, I'll go ahead and close us out. Thank you all for being here with us for this hour talking about animal behavior. I'm so grateful to the Solar Eclipse team for joining us, Solar Eclipse Safari team for joining us. Come back anytime to talk about what the results are. We'll talk in the month's future. And then everyone else stay tuned if there is an event to talk through results too. So I did want to give you just a one pager snapshot of how to get yourself started. And so step one, there's a website. Go to the website. Click the participate tab to see all the things you need to do to actually get started. Step two, the animal you need to start observing an hour before. And so having that observation form ready for that hour before is perfect. And then you just start doing the work. You observe and see how cool these animals are during the eclipse. So hopefully that is helpful. This will be sent out in with the recording and other resources in the follow-up email sent out tomorrow. We did cover Q&A, so I'm just going to skip past this. But if you do have questions, the email was listed in the chat, and I'll also send it in the follow-up email as well. So we're talking about eclipse science. All of this is relevant to citizen science as a whole. And so if you are doing this project, we urge you to definitely submit your results. Don't forget that part. It's not citizen science. It's not research until it gets submitted. And what that does too is it keeps it involved within the 1 million acts of science. And so once it's submitted, we can figure out just how many people, awesome people, are involved. We can count up all the acts and get to 1 million by the end of the month. So if you're invested, we want you to be invested. Get invested now. Roland just dropped a link in the chat for 1millionactsofscience.org. You can watch how well we're doing at this point on the front page, and you can find out more activities you can do throughout the month too. If this is just not enough for you, we've got more, including these events. So if you join us for the next couple weeks on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we are talking about debriefing the eclipses next week with NASA. And then on the 16th, we're talking about the City Nature Challenge. So if you've ever used iNaturalist or are interested in animal behavior in general, or animals or plants, etc., this is a great one for you to get involved in. It is a global event at the end of April. And so on the 16th, we're going to train ourselves up and be ready to work on it. On the 23rd, we're talking about sidewalk accessibility problems. It's a very specific topic, so if any of you are interested, you can look up more on our blog post and learn more about the project on SciStarter, but it's one of my favorite projects on SciStarter. It feels like it really makes a big impact on people's lives, especially. And then on the 30th, it's the end of the month, so we'll just show off how awesome all of you are and have a grand finale celebration. So if you're interested in any of those, we'd love to have you back. And you are also welcome to use any of the resources for SciStarter that are on the page, and Roland is dropping in the chat for you. And we hope you join us next week to debrief the eclipse. So that link to sign up for any of these events, by the way, I'll drop it in the chat too. It's the same one you saw here. But thank you all for joining us. I do appreciate it. The sign up link for all these is here. If I can type it while talking out loud is a difficult thing. https://scistar.org/go/live. We'd love for you to join us. Excellent. Oh, so if any of you are access to Wi-Fi, this is late. I'll add it in the follow-up email too. Sorry, Ashley. There is the digital tool that you can use instead of the form. And so instead of having a paper, you can just do it directly online, which will require you to have access to Wi-Fi or cellular data. So that is an option too if you don't have a printer or whatnot. So all available. Cool. Okay, great. All right. Oh, time intervals for you. Oh, that's so nice. I'll do that too. Thanks, Karen. Excellent. All right. You all have a wonderful rest of your days, and we'll see you at the next event, and good luck during the eclipse. We'll be excited to see all your data. Bye, everyone. I'll go ahead and stop our recording.